We're All Going to the World's Fair is a 2021 psychological horror film written and directed by Jane Schoenbrunn. This was their directorial debut. The film stars Anna Cobb and Michael J. Rogers. Schoenbrunn has said that they took partial inspirations from creepypastas when they directed this, which is what made me curious to see it. Anyway, let's start. The premise of this film centers on a lonely girl named Casey, played by Anna Cobb, who decides to record herself playing an online horror ARG called the World's Fair Challenge. It involves her drawing some of her own blood and saying she wants to go to the World's Fair to the camera over and over. Once she does this, the game starts. Shortly after, she is messaged by a user named JLB, played by Michael J. Rogers, who is another player in the game. He keeps his identity secret and warns her of just how dangerous the game is and encourages her to keep making videos. But Casey's behavior starts to grow more and more unsettling as JLB starts to get more concerned for her well-being. But it's just a game, right? If you grew up with urban legends such as Bloody Mary or Baby Blue, then you will more than love this story because it literally feels like an urban legend you've heard about as a kid. And it makes me even more glad that they combined the internet with it, since that gives it the, almost creepypasta element Schoenbrunn was going for. For a long time, I've always wanted to see a horror film that tackles the internet horror, and this more than fit the bill. I give premise an A+. Next is acting. Anna Cobb's character was someone who was extremely lonely. She seemingly didn't have much of a social life and seemed to spend a lot of time to herself. And I feel like that is something a lot of people like me have experienced, since we are so busy figuring out who we are that we don't really know which group of friends we fit in with. It also doesn't help that not a lot of people understand what we go through and, even mock us for it. So a lot of us feel like we have no choice but to keep it bottled up. And speaking from experience, Anna Cobb did a fantastic job of portraying someone who was, always somewhat socially awkward, lonely, and always on the internet. Because when you are always on the internet, it feels like you have more friends online than in real life. And Cobb's performance also makes you question as to whether her changing behavior is an unfortunate effect of the game, or if it's just her loneliness catching up with her. Michael J. Rogers also does a fantastic job of portraying loneliness. I give acting an A+. Finally, directing. As mentioned before, this was Schoenbrunn's feature directorial debut, and what a strong debut they started on. They took a very ambiguous approach to the horror that makes you wonder just how much of an influence this game has had on the protagonist's life. The visuals were amazing too, and given how much I love David Lynch, there was, also some elements of his style that I more than appreciated in this movie. Schoenbrunn captured not only the feel of being up late at night alone and scrolling through the internet, but also of isolation as well. I give directing an A+. Overall, We're All Going to the World's Fair is a love letter to creepypasta that was very enjoyable. The horror is very subtle and works very well because of it. The ambiguity also helps add to it as well. And the way it captures loneliness, as I said, is amazing. I give We're All Going to the World's Fair an A+. A superb horror film for anyone who grew up with creepypasta, or for anyone who has experienced, isolation or loneliness of any kind, and has found that the internet, provides a space that seems, somewhat less lonely. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and sub for more content.